I like to play it because it's for my entertainment. I like it because it's competitive in some points. Mainly in Call of Duty, I like the competitiveness of it.
Back in the day, how did you see your future then? Or were you just living for the now back then? When did you realize that you were no longer in control because this has progressed into some form of addiction?
This is the problem with an addiction. One of the hallmarks of an addiction is to deny the condition. So I would always think I'm okay. The only time I would realize something is wrong is when something fell apart. You've heard those comments about the best time to help an addict is when they hit rock bottom. So there are times in my life I would hit rock bottom. What is rock bottom for me back then? When I would start to fail in my classes, or when I'd have a very hard time, when I would get sick because I didn't sleep enough and something was going on. So these things happen in my life. And when I would hit these pitfalls, or what I call humps, or these speed bumps that really shook me, I would then admit, okay, maybe there is a problem. Maybe I'm gaming too much. So what I would do is I would try to stop gaming for a bit. And inevitably what would happen is my life would improve. Like I said, all of us have a God-given ability to do well, to work. You know, everyone, every child has an innate ability to accomplish and succeed when channeled correctly. So I would actually start to move in that direction. And then when I would become successful again, so I would then fix my grades, I would then get complacent and I would start to game again with this idea that now I figured it out. And it would be like I would enter a time warp. I won't remember what happened. It's like 6 months later, I'm playing 6 hours a day again or more. So it was a very interesting cycle of thinking you have no problem, then realizing you have a problem because something breaks in your life, trying to stop, getting better, and then getting back in it again.
So eventually you stopped online gaming and then you felt that you got better. After you graduated from college, what kept you busy?
After I graduated from college, I actually started working. I worked with Accenture, was called Anderson Consulting back then, and that was my first job. And then I actually applied for business school. What was interesting was when I was gaming, I didn't get into any school. All my applications were really bad. I rushed them. One of the hallmarks of a gamer is this ability to procrastinate, because you tend to escape into the game. So you come home and you have 10 things to do, but then you have the game. So instead of doing any of the 10 things, you play the game. And what happens? You play
aside.
Yeah, you put all the 10 things aside, you play all night, and then you wake up the next day and you have to go back to work and the 10 things stay. So I would do this until the last minute. And suddenly my application, I remember, my application for Wharton was due the next week. I typed all the essays in 2 nights. Guess what? I didn't get accepted. I missed all the programs I applied to. I failed. And that's an example of hitting rock bottom. I felt so discouraged and I prayed to God and said, will you help me to become a better man? And you know, I quit gaming for a whole, I don't know how long, maybe 6 months. And then I applied to all the schools again. And this time I got into Wharton, I got into a couple others. I think I got into Georgetown and a few other Ivy League schools. So then I was so excited, you know, and so that's what kept me busy after college was work. And then I got to graduate school.
That's very impressive. You said that you stopped playing online games for about 6 months. What led you back into online gaming?
It's that cycle. So when I was in business school, as an example, my first year, again, I did so well academically and I was so excited to get involved in business school, meet people. But in the middle of business school, a friend introduced me to a game called World of Warcraft. I talked about that earlier. And I thought, I'm just gonna test it. So in my mind, I'm not going to get addicted this time. I'm just going to try it for, 1 hour, 2 hours. But I didn't realize that gamers or the game developers actually design their games so when you start, it sucks you in. It's like a vacuum. How does it work? They do things like this. They make it so at the beginning, you level up very fast. So in the first 1 hour, you get many rewards. What that does is it makes you feel like you did something. So in the first hour alone, the rewards are plenty. And many gamers know this. As the game progresses, as you get to the later levels, it takes a longer time. To level from level 0 to level 1 or 2 is very fast. But then once you're level 40 to get to level 41, it can take you 3 days. So they slow it down, but you're already invested. And there's, I think, a human part of us is whatever we put our time to, we will love. So by the fact that I've already invested so many hours in the game, I feel like I'm vested. I just keep playing. So what happens is I start off not thinking I'm going to get addicted, but somehow the game sucks me in like a vacuum. And before I know it, I'm completely addicted again.
Peter, how did your big aha moment come about? When did you realize that you've got to do something to put an end to this?
Yeah, so imagine repeating what I shared with you many times. Imagine doing that over, let's say, 8 times of my life. That's why I'm saying 30 years. So, over 3-4 years, I would repeat a cycle of addiction and stopping, addiction and stopping. Finally, I remember one night, I have a family already. Imagine, I'm already a grown man. I have a job. I have 2 kids, my wife, who, by the way, hates gaming. She hates gaming so much, I'm convinced God blessed me with a wife who hates gaming, because when she sees me gaming, she will fight with me. So what happened is one night, they're all asleep, and I just finished gaming. And I look at my family, and I remember God telling me, do you really want to live like this? Do you want to spend your whole life pouring your hours into something that doesn't matter? And then someday, you will not even know your kids. They'll grow up with similar addictions to you because you're not a good example. Your wife will be angry. Do you really want to live a whole life like this? Is this what you want? And I remember breaking down. I like cried. I knelt at my bedside and I asked God for help. I remember, and so finally I said, I can't do it on my own. I need help. And when I admitted that, not just, I admitted that obviously to God and then to my wife and to my brother and to people around me, it helped me because when something is out in the open, then people can work together to help. And this was the big aha. It's a very simple thing. One of the most important parts is called a detoxification stage.
Right.
So I didn't realize this back then, but I had read a verse. And the verse I read, God inspired me to make this commitment with him. I will not play any game for 1 year. I decided to try for 1 year to stop. And the reason for me was this. I said, God, if this is a better way to live, then I will wait for 1 year and I hope you will change me. And so for 1 year, I didn't touch any game at all. And what was interesting was I grew in that 1 year. It's like I gained 10 years that I lost before. A lot of things in my life that had not been developed were developed in just 1 year. So that's like the aha moment, but just taking a break. And what it does is it allows you to reset the brain, because the brain actually becomes addicted like a drug, and you have to detoxify like a drug. And when you detoxify, it allows you to settle down your thinking, and you're able to think clearer. And then you're able to look at your old life and say, wow, I don't think I want to live like that. That's too much. So it gives it, yeah.
It really involves discipline. There really has to be this determination.
And help.
Fight it and
And
help.
help. So you have to have family, friends, like if you go to a church and you have a small group, get your small group to rally around you. If you have a family and you're close, tell your mom, your brother, your sister, your dad. your wife or your husband, right? I need help. And then make commitments.
Peter, that was a very powerful reflection. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Sure.
If you would now be talking to the young Peter Tanchi Jr., what advice would you give him?